Hello, everybody, and happy Hump Day Wednesday. It's December 28th, 2022. Can you believe New Year's Eve is Saturday? We'll be approaching 2023. Let me be the first to wish you a happy new year. What's your plans? You're going to stay home? You're going to go out? You're going to dress up? What are you going to do? I'm going to wear a style shirt. In this video, we're going to talk about the $600 delayed for 1 year. This was the $600 that was implemented by the politicians. Also, PUA overpayments. I always like to get the facts. I know this news came out yesterday, but if you're new to my video, to my channel, I like to get the facts. I got good news on both. Real good news on the $600 IRS. I'm going to break it down, but before I break this down, I'm going to go slow in breaking it down, what it all meant and everything like that, and the PUA and the overpayments. I know a lot of you are waiting on what you're hearing. Thank you for liking this video, and if you haven't liked it already, I greatly appreciate it. If you can hit the thumbs up, as the shirt says, to help this channel out, and also share it to your friends and relatives and your Uncle Joey. All right, let's jump into this. So here's what we have. So let's talk about the IRS first. It's been delayed for 1 year. Now, when something's implemented by the administration, whether Republican or Democrat, the IRS has to do it, whether they like it or not. Or do they? Because now listen, the bottom line was, even with all their manpower, this is what I'm hearing from a very good friend who I can't mention his name, who works with the IRS. Okay. Even with all this manpower, this would have been a nightmare. Now, this $600, what is he talking about? This $600 was, so it was a third-party app. So in other words, if you use Venmo or PayPal, let's say you were on eBay and you sold something for $600, okay, a TV or whatever it might be, through PayPal, then you would have had to get a 1099-K just for that one transaction for $600. It would have been a nightmare, and you would have had to report it. If you didn't report it, all indication was they were going to come after all of us and audit all of us. And also, you would have had to pay your CPA or accountant or H&R Block more money, because that's another page, right? That's extra money for them, and they deserve it because that's extra work. This would have been a nightmare. The real reason they're delaying this just goes to show you that the IRS is above the law. It takes time to organize all this, right? You can't just shuffle new people in and get these people say, it's a lot of work. One transaction for $600. This probably would have affected more than half of my viewers on here, so share the video. However, they threw it out, delayed it. Well, they didn't throw it out, excuse me. They delayed it for 1 year. So what I'm hearing, because it used to be $20,000. So $20,000 for a transaction. So again, this was a 1099-K. This was a third-party app. So what it was pretty much the politicians were putting this in the law to go after the wealthy. But it wasn't wealthy people. You can easily sell something for $600 on eBay or whatever it might be, right? Or your services or hair, whatever it might be. You can be a personal trainer and sold boxes of protein bars. So we get the idea. So this was going to go into effect. And I, deep down inside, didn't want to say anything. I knew it would not go through. They went from $20,000 to $600. It's just too much. But the real reason is not the IRS really cares about us. Well, some of them do, right? It was about them on how to organize it, A, B, C, just like the PUA. Now, don't go anywhere because we're going to talk about the PUA. All this manpower, they wear the suits and a tie. It takes time to organize it. So what I'm hearing is, what we're hearing is it's going to be a delay. But what the real truth is, they're not going to keep that number 600. They're going to go back to the drawing board, right? They're going to go back to the drawing board. They're going to talk to the politicians, say, rewrite it. They can just get a pen and rewrite this, and let's go. You just don't want 20,000. Let's go 10,000. I don't know what the number is going to be. I'm telling you, remember, save this video. It will not be 600. It might be in the neighborhood of 5,000 or 10,000, just to throw a number out, because it would be a nightmare. Politicians write things up and don't realize, and hire more people and realize you can just snap of a finger. You can go ahead and implement and get this done. A lot of work. You imagine $600? Think about how many people do eBay and Amazon and sell easily. I mean, I sold an ashtray 3 years ago, a cigar ashtray, easily for $800. I would have had to add that in there. Now, of course, there's write-offs and stuff like that. More work after a pandemic. So that's the reason. So it's been delayed. So the new, again, let's repeat it. Great news for the IRS. $600 tax rule. So for this year, when you file your taxes, don't worry about it. Forget about it. Next year, we'll have to worry about it. But I don't think, again, I'm like 90% sure, excuse me, it won't be 600. The real reason behind, they got to increase it. Politicians, just like when they implemented the PUA under the when Trump was in office, and I'm not knocking Trump at all. When they implemented it, this was the first time they ever had unemployment insurance for self-employed people, right? Whether whoever you might have been, show business, personal trainer, hairdresser, tattoo artist, on and on and on. They're your babysitters. They didn't really organize it right, so they were approving people that probably shouldn't got it, and people who should have got didn't get it. And I'm hearing good news now in Nevada that they're starting to pay out people after 3 years. There's people who died already for whatever reason. I have a friend who passed away, good friend, friend of a friend, Ed, who passed away, who never got a dime, who was 100% self-employed. This is no joke. What they should have done was, if that wasn't, see, my whole point was that wasn't implemented in the correct formation either. They should have just gave it out through the federal instead of letting the states handle it. And now the overpayments, they were sending out, they were approving people, and in fine writing, they were asking for people to put their business license. Some you didn't even need. I had mine, and then their IRS for 2020, I think it was, right? 2020 and 2021 maybe, or at least in 2020, proof of address and all that, and proof of income. So you just uploaded that, and if you did, say, Lyft, for an example, and you made $20,000, it was based on your WBA. What they were doing was, in some cases, they were breaking down, instead of the net, they were breaking down the gross. But I looked at this many, many times. It didn't say the gross. So they were approving people based on the gross. Does that make sense? So if you were making, say, $27,000 in tattoo artists, right, but you brought home $10,000, and you were approved for the minimums. Everybody was getting the minimum of 180. 181, I believe, in Nevada. Some states were 170, some were 190. Let's just say Nevada, 181. Stay with me. It's important. But then later, a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, saying, no, that wasn't right. It should have been your net. And it's a big mess. Meanwhile, that money went out to people. People used it. 95%, 99% used it to keep a roof over their head, food and stuff like that, who weren't even eligible for SNAP. That was a whole nother video. We like to do SNAP and Medicaid, but not in this video. So now they're asking for that money back. Well, hello, people don't have that money back. It was an error. It was a huge error on their part. People were confused. They, on their defense, the unemployment directors here in Nevada, they went through 3 and fired them, or they stepped down. Excuse me. Sorry about that. In all states, they didn't know. Nevada was the last state. They were confused on things, and I'm not backing the PUA up in unemployment. Takes time. If I gave you a 250 page to implement something, it takes a team to organize it. It takes at least 10 days just to address it. It's not easy. So then afterwards, they want money back, and it causes a big problem. It's a lot of paperwork, a big mess among everybody. And then I remind everybody, we're coming out of a pandemic. So this is what I'm hearing on overpayment, that there's a good chance if something similar like that happened, they probably won't go after everybody. Now, if there was a mistake or fraud involved, or you, and I hope that anybody comes across this video wasn't that person, did something fishy, or it was a huge amount of big mistake, then you might have to work something out. But it was just a big mess because people, we didn't know on our side. All we wanted to do, see, the whole thing, and I'm going to end this video on the PUA and the IRS. The PUA, we didn't say we want to stay home and just drink coffee and relax. We want to work, and they shut down. In my opinion, and I'm going to have a video on that, just my opinion, all right, and my wife would disagree, the Trump administration went way too long, and the Biden administration, I was just too much of a panic. Just my opinion. You can disagree. But people wanted to work. I wanted to work. I didn't want to sit home. I want to work. I want to continue. I think we overreacted a little bit. Just my opinion. I'm not on the pandemic, on working. People say, well, money's not important. No, it's not. It's your health. But with no money, it affects your health. I'm getting off the subject a little bit. But anyhow, that's what I know on the PUA and the overpayments, on how it was organized. And there was a law written by former President Donald Trump and Biden. There's 2 things what both presidents agreed on. They said, we're not going to go after overpayments. That was also in the American Rescue Plan, as well as Trump's CARES Act. It was in there. Now, the IRS, This was good information. The $600. I would greatly appreciate sharing this. Again, it's not going to be on this tax season, but future season. But I remember me saying this in December 28th, 2022, that it will not be that number 600. Let me smile. I want to be the first to say it will not be that 600. It'll probably go somewhere between 20,000 and 600. Well, probably around the thousands. Because it comes down to it's work, and people don't want to work. And it's not the IRS cares about us or unemployment cares about us. Maybe a few. It's work. So you heard it first in this video. This video went over 8 minutes, but I had to get all this out. Remember, say hello to somebody. Tomorrow's another day. There's always a solution on this channel. I will be back on a great video probably tonight. And let me know if you want me to go live. I haven't been live in a while to answer a lot of your questions. You know me, we get the facts on this station. God bless everybody. Have a safe Wednesday.